edit it super easy. So, yay!
Yay, yay.
Wow, we are, that's right here, Mark Herman, right here. We are so excited today to have Mark Herman, CEO of Dion's, as he put it, lifelong New Mexican and Vista's chair. Now, I will be perfectly candid. I grew up in New Mexico. So when I met Mark, I thought I had actually met a superstar because there's a certain New Mexican pizza that involves pepperoni and green chili, which is now called the New Mexican. We just called it pizza back then. And Dion's was a very, very important part of my life growing up. And so it was just such a great experience meeting Mark. So Mark, welcome. Please introduce yourself.
Sure. Thank you so much, Bruce and Gail. It is great to spend some time with you all today. Great to see you. As you said, my name is Mark Herman. I'm the CEO of Dion's, which for people who don't know is a New Mexico-based restaurant chain. We have restaurants in New Mexico, Texas, and Colorado, and we serve delicious pizza, salads, and sandwiches. So we've grown to 28 restaurants. We actually do have a new restaurant concept just in Albuquerque called Tula's Kitchen that we're working on as well. And Dion's, though, we've grown to now over 2,000 employees. And I like to think of us kind of like the In-N-Out Burger of New Mexico. We don't have In-N-Out Burger here. If you think of that cult-like following in a place that people grow up with and experience, and either they or their friends work there, like that's what Dion's is to New Mexico. So proud to be associated with that. And for myself, I started working at Dion's first when I was 17 years old.
Wow. I love that.
Had no idea I would ever be in the restaurant business, because who thinks about that? Who thinks they're going to end up working for a restaurant for their whole career? But I went away to college, and I would come back and work summers, and I got a job. When I got my degree, I thought, I'm done, go get a real job. And I got a job selling insurance and investments, and it was awful. It was the worst job I could have ever imagined. I had to call people straight out of the phone book, because obviously, I'm old. This wasn't just look people up on Google and LinkedIn and everything. Call people out of the phone book and try and sell them stuff. And it was just the most painful, wretched experience for me to have to do that. I realized pretty quickly that was not my calling, and went back just to work with people at Dion's while I figured out what I wanted to do. And it turns out in 1992, they offered me a store manager job that I said I would accept for 1 year. Well, that 1 year has turned into a little bit longer than a year story. And I've been blessed and able to help the company grow, and had the opportunity to manage multiple stores and all of our operations and facilities and marketing and HR and all those jobs along the way. So it's a great place to be. We have fantastic people and a fantastic community that supports us. So I'm just very lucky to work with the people I do every day.
I love that so much. And of course, we are big fans. I am now a fan, thanks to the fact that Bruce has introduced it to me. And thank goodness there's some in Colorado now.
Yes.
So, we're not totally left out in the cold, although I don't mind coming down to New Mexico to get some. So I love your story about kind of moving through positions into then eventually CEO role, which is kind of unusual. There's not a lot of CEOs that understand the business in that way, unless they're on that show Undercover Boss, where they go back and check it out. You've already done it, and so you've got some really unique insight into kind of the various roles that are there. What have you taken away kind of as your lesson, having done that, come up through the ranks into the role that you're in now? What's your big takeaway from working in all those different roles?
I think the big takeaway along the way is it's like most things, it's a people business. And so the way I have so much respect for what everyone in the organization does, how hard it is, what the challenges are, what it takes to do a high level job. And so I think I bring that in my decision making, or at least I hope I do, with the idea of how do I help people succeed? How do I help them make their jobs easier? And then ultimately, how do I help them find careers and jobs that they enjoy so that they can build the lives they want to? So not even just talking about work, but how do we help them build the lives they want to build? And I think that comes from coming up through the ranks and appreciating everything they do.
Yeah, I mean, I think in the conversations we have, so full disclosure, we've known Mark the better part of, I guess, a year and a half, almost 2 years coming up. We met Mark in New Mexico at a Vistage session, and he and I really hit it off. It turns out we went to the same high school, although not quite at the same time, and so we just had a lot in common. I'm curious to know, and you explained it to me so well about the skills that you're trying to teach these what is very often very young people. What are your goals with teaching young people and kind of releasing them out into the real world?
Yeah, we have, we primarily hire first time or young workers, so a lot of high school, college age employees. And what we've realized over the years is that, we've always tried to teach them how to operate in the business, so how to make pizzas, how to give good customer service, and those kind of things. And the more we've worked on that over the years, we've realized we actually have this opportunity to, as we started to call it, teach them how to adult. Like teach them what it means to become self-reliant and responsible to others. And so we've started to frame it out in three sections. So we start first with what we call leadership of self, and then leadership of others, and then leadership of other leaders. So self, others, leaders, and with the idea that let's try and help young people, um, you know, realize how they show up in the world, how they present themselves, how they're making promises and agreements throughout the day, whether it's to a coworker, a parent, a teacher, a customer. Are they conscious of those kind of things and doing them, the way they want to do them? Are they managing their time effectively? Are they learning to in tense situations pause and think and respond rather than reacting to things? And so all of those kinds of soft skills that really help people learn to be self-reliant adults.
I love that so much. And it's definitely not, I think, the typical mindset of businesses that have a propensity of hiring folks that are on, not first job or, something to kind of supplement until they move on to something else. And just that recognition of the employee as an holistic person, just a whole person, as opposed to someone doing the job to get the pizza in the hands of the customer, and that's it. It's really a 360, and to me, that speaks more about your role in the community rather than just a business. And so that's something I really love that you do. I know that Dion's also, you have a very strong relationship with a nonprofit in the community, in the dance community. Would you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, we've partnered for a number of years with lots of nonprofits in youth development and youth leadership. The one you're talking about in particular, though, it's been over 10 years that we've worked with NDI, which is the National Dance Institute. So NDI is built around this idea that through dance and forms of expression, we can teach people, young people, confidence. We can teach them hard work. We can teach them effort and all those kinds of things that will build resilience in them as they get older. So it's been a great partnership, and they certainly have a great impact in Albuquerque and the communities around New Mexico.
Wonderful. I know NDI certainly appreciates your support, to say the least. I love how you guys really partner, as you said, partner with various nonprofits in throughout the community, and this is just a good opportunity for them. As you think about kind of teamwork, what was amazing and really a part of the experience that we had with Dion's is the team that is there working in a shop and getting the work done. So I want you to go back to a time, perhaps, Mark, that you were a part of a team that wasn't, and that was having challenges. I'm curious to know what the experience was like for you, what you identified as maybe the things that went wrong, and either things that you did maybe to change the culture, or if it wasn't you, maybe you were just a team member, things that occurred to get it right, to make it right for that team.
Sure. As you say that, the first thing that comes to mind is really that first store manager job I had with Dion's in the early 90s. And so going into work and finding a team that one didn't seem to like each other, like they just genuinely didn't seem to love working together. And when it would get busy, of course, the way that came out is the busier it got, the more they kind of chirped at each other and nagged at each other and just struggled to have any comprehension of what they were doing beyond just the task of making a pizza or making a salad or doing something like that. Like work was those tasks. And from my part, coming into it as a manager, at first I think I came into it with just the, hey, well, if I'm just positive and happy all the time, then we'll get this thing figured out. And that didn't quite work. They didn't just buy in, just for the sake of buying in. And so what I found was, and this has helped me throughout my whole career, what I found was that standing next to somebody and working with them. So if you can picture being at a make station and making a salad, well, someone's making the salad, and then a lot of times for us, there's someone else who's kind of bagging it and getting it ready to go for a to-go order. And so I would go and stand next to people and work with them. And while they're making the salad, I'm bagging the salad, and I wasn't talking to them about the salad. I was talking to them about, hey, how's school going for you? What's you doing well? You like it? You don't like it? What subjects do you like? Where do you want to, you going to go to college? What are you going to do? And talking to people more about what was going on in their lives. And what I realized was when I did that, they would begin to light up a little bit. And the more I did that with more people on the team, the more they started to learn about each other. And the more we started to build this idea of that, hey, we're kind of in this thing together. And so the more we got to know each other, I think the harder people fought for each other in a sense, the more we started to work together. And then when things would get tough and I needed to ask somebody to step up, hey, someone called in, will you stay tonight? People were willing to do those kinds of things. And in fact, people started hanging around when they got done with work, they'd clock out and they'd be like, well, I don't want to go home yet, because they enjoyed the atmosphere that they were working in enough. And so I think a lot of times working with teams that aren't working well together, it's really getting down at first to the personal level. What's going on for people? What's working for them and not working for them in work, but outside of work also. And when you can do that and get to who people really are, I think people find more in common and start working well.
I think that is an incredible thing that you did. And you were pretty young then too, to kind of have that sense about what to do there. In my mind, what you did was create space for people to share and talk. I mean, I think we can probably all agree, if we were thrown into a team together and we weren't given an opportunity or given the space to be able to share, to ask good questions of each other and to find out more about one another, then the investment and the trust doesn't really happen, because we don't know each other. It's like, I don't know you. Why would I put, more time in for you, and I don't know you? And you created space for people to share what's going on in their lives, also to find how they were, probably shared experiences between them, what's in common, and also a healthy respect for not being the same, and knowing that is a really powerful way to bring a good team together. So I have to applaud you for that. So well done there.
Thanks. Well, I think some of that comes from the fact that I'm kind of a people pleaser, have been my whole life. So there's a lot of downsides to that in leadership of being a people pleaser. But I think one of the things that was a positive out of it is that I try to be observant of what's going on with other people. And so while that may come as a negative, being a people pleaser sometimes, I think that's the character trait that allowed me to pay attention to what was going on with the people around me, and try to respond to that. So sometimes even something that doesn't work for us all the time, can produce an insight as well. So
yeah. And what's amazing is when you get people talking, when you take an active interest in them as a person, which is really, I mean, that just shows care and feeding, right, of a relationship. That's at the heart of that. People, as you said, what I love to use the phrase is they lit up, right? People, when they're
Yeah.
given the chance, people love to talk about themselves because people do really interesting things. And giving them a forum to be able to start talking about, and even if it's not an interesting thing, maybe it's a challenge that they're having or something that they're working through, giving them that space is much more of a modern framework for leadership than it is, which is remarkable in '92. When you're talking about being there, and that's not how people led back then, right? It still was very much of the command and control piece. So yeah,
Yeah,
Right.
I love that so much about, how you showed up in that way. And so what that also makes me think of is what has been, you definitely kind of had an organic leadership moment in creating that space then. What has been the
Yeah.
best piece of advice that someone has given you over the years that's really stuck with you from a leadership perspective, from a team perspective, that you kind of
Sure.
still call on today?
Yeah, I think for me, I tend to be a worrier. I come from a long line of worriers. So my dad's a worrier, my brother and sister are worriers, I'm a worrier, and that anxiousness. So I realize that anxiousness means I'm kind of living in the future, kind of worried about, well, what's going to happen? Well, if this or that or the other thing, and I spend that time in the future. And I was taking a class. We've done a number of personal growth seminars that a lot of us in leadership at Dion's have gone to, and I was at one that was on facilitator training. And the coach at the time said, just remember, you don't have to have all the answers. You're just the facilitator. So if I take that advice and I put that in the context of relationships and leadership in general, letting go of the idea that I have to have it all figured out, or letting go of the idea that I have all the answers, and kind of trusting that if we just stick with things with good intention, that eventually it will work itself out. I still have to work on that every day, and yet I think that's one of the most powerful pieces of advice I've ever read.
Yeah, I love that. And in fact, I'm a big fan of, I sometimes get lost in the coulda, woulda, shouldas, so the past, and then the what ifs in the future. And when we raised our kids, we're always saying like, let's stay present. Let's really stay present. And so seeing yourself kind of in that coaching capacity, I love the idea of, I kind of think of it visually as someone, you're holding the lamp or the light, and the team just needs to see to find their way. And that doesn't mean you have to know the way. You're discovering sometimes at the same time. And that's really vulnerable and powerful thing to say as a leader, and you don't have to have all the answers. And in fact, the people who have all the answers
don't have all the
are
answers.
the leaders that I really off-putting because they don't, and they're not curious anymore, and they're not open anymore. They're like, I got it. So thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, that's awesome.
If you can't do that, I feel like, if I'm coming with an answer or feeling like I have to come to the answer, I'm leaving out all the wisdom of the group.
Yeah.
So true. And it doesn't mean, as I talk to other leaders, sometimes that can be confusing. It doesn't mean that I don't have to make the final call on things, because that might be part of my job. And I can do that while still including the wisdom of all the people around me to try and figure out the best way to do stuff.
Yeah, 100%.
Did you notice he said and instead of but?
I know he's doing very well. Having gone through some yes and training with maybe some people from ExperienceYes. So that's pretty good.
Right. Well done.
Yeah. So another question for you, Mark. If you had a magic wand, all right, ready? You got a magic wand, and you're bringing in people every day that they're just learning job skills, they're just learning people skills, they're just learning how to kind of live in the world. And then as they grow, maybe they get skills and maybe they don't. If you had a magic wand that could make it so that this skill everybody could have, they could kind of come in the gate with a specific skill. What skill would you like to see that?
I think I referred to it earlier. If there were only one, if I had the magic wand for one thing, it would be that idea of responding rather than reacting, the ability in stressful situations to pause and think about things before we just react. So we teach that concept as 3 words. We teach listen, care, and act. And I feel like if people could or can pause for a minute, really listen to either the person they're talking to or really understand the situation they're in, figure out what's important so you care about it, and then decide to do something. I think so much happens in our society and in the work world just based off of quick reactions. Somebody says something, someone has to say something back really fast, or someone else gets amped up, so now I get amped up. And so if I could give people one skill, it would be that ability to take a breath and pause and think before they do something.
That's fantastic. That's definitely, as an emotional intelligence practitioner, that's what we call self-management or self-regulation. And you beautifully put it. I love the listen piece. The care piece is, if you care enough, you're going to create space for them to finish saying what they need to, and for you to process and regulate your response. And to understand before you do that. So I love that so much. LCA, it's great.
Yep.
All right. So what is making you happy right now? What is inspiring you? It can be personal, it can be professional. What's making you smile?
Well, I'll give you the one from this morning. So this morning I got a picture from my son, because I have a son who has 2 children. So 3-year-old and a 6-month-old. So the 3-year-old just went off to preschool for the first time today. So I got the picture of him with his little backpack walking into school. So that's what's making me happy today, is just that innocence and that experience of what's I'm sure going to be so exciting for him and so fun and some struggle and challenge at the same time, like that. That just gets me jazzed.
And have you had any reports on how it went? They should be maybe back by now, correct? So
he should have wrapped up about 10 minutes ago, so I don't yet, but I'll wait to find out.
We hear that. We're keeping you in between that information. That's what I'm hearing. It's important to get to that.
I do hear that. That's awesome. It makes me think of, have you ever seen the movie Christmas Story?
Peter Billingsley, the Red Ryder, the
leg lamp. Well, when the dad gets the box and he says, "My God, there could be anything in there," and to me, like just seeing this little human with a backpack getting ready to enter, like there could be anything in there. It's like anything's possible, and it's just the newness of it all. So that sounds so wonderful. What a great reason to be inspired and happy and smile. So and well done you. Do they call you?
Yeah.
Yeah. What do they name you?
He calls me Pizza Papa.
Pizza Papa. That's awesome.
That is so fabulous.
That seems very appropriate.
Yes, it does. Yes, it does.
Yeah.
Well, Mark Herman, CEO of Dion's, thank you so much for coming and spending a few minutes with us on our podcast. We're so excited to chat with you and hear your insights. So thank you.
You're an incredible leader. We're really inspired by you. Keep doing what you're doing because it's clearly working.
That's right.
Congratulations on the success of Dion's and your teams.
Thank you so much. I appreciate the positive influence you're having on our company and many others. So anytime I can get with you guys, it's a better day for me.
Awesome. Thank you
Thanks,
so
Mark.
much.
We'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you.